naked. You never know with boys. But anyway.
Two boys together is a weird chemistry. I mean, a boy and a girl, great, but two boys, it gets wild.
Oh yeah, they definitely feed off each other. They tag team it. So, but anyway, I'm so excited to share with you guys tonight, and I have my notes down here, so hopefully I probably will be looking down a little bit. But anyways, I'm excited to share with you because what I'm going to talk about really is a little bit of I want to talk about conquering mental obstacles, but also setting new and higher goals. And that's kind of what this is about, because in Arbonne, we have inside work and we have outside work, if that makes sense. We have to work on our mental toughness and our heart and our vision, but we also have to do the work. And so I tried to couple both of these topics together because I personally think outlook is just about everything in this business, or I would have quit so many times. I've been a part of Arbonne for just over 15 years and 2 months, I guess. And, and so I want to talk a little bit about that. I would have quit after the first no show, the first quitter in my business. We've all had those things happen. But I made a decision, just like you did, to not let that beat you down and not to let other people's issues get in your way. And we're going to talk a little bit about that too. When I say other people's issues, that could mean anybody. It could be people that cancel, people that reject you. It could be anything, but they should not get in the way of your vision and your heart. And another thing I want to share with you is sometimes you don't always see the immediate reward for things. Growing up, I think my worst chore that I could think of growing up was having to mow the lawn. Okay. I mean, I hated it. And my sister and I, we were older than my brother, and she was older than me, and she's a PA like you, Carlita. She was smarter than me. So she would figure out ways. Here comes one of them. She would figure out ways. I don't know how, but I used to have to do, when we did the backyard and we would do the trimming, we hated doing that. It was so much work. But it laid the groundwork for later. I think a lot of us on here have parents or, have children, and you're making them do things that they just don't understand sometimes. And I know whenever I did those things growing up that I hated to do, I learned that I had to finish. I had to go the extra mile. I had to do my best. I had to do a little more. I had to go past average. I had to be the first one at work and the last one out of work at my ice cream shop job. And all of that applies to having a successful Arbonne business. And the great thing about that, y'all, is that it can be learned. You can learn, you can teach yourself to do that at any point. I have taught myself more, not taught myself, but through personal development and reading and going through obstacles and trials, probably more in these past 4 or 5 years and even 3 years really than ever. And definitely I haven't mastered any of these things. This training is just as much for me. I think I learn more. I don't know if you agree, Carlita, whenever you're writing up a training and studying and preparing it, I almost selfishly feel like I'm learning more from it doing the training. But these things definitely, help you get to where you want to be in Arbonne, and it will help you get to a new level of thinking, because in Arbonne, you're always, your ceiling that you have for tomorrow becomes tomorrow's floor. Does that make sense? You're always growing to improve. I can't talk, and get better. But now more than ever, we all probably can agree that we need to be mentally tough. You have to be, and it will pay off. I believe that this year we are going to see more leaders rise than ever before. I think there's going to be some amazing stories to be told when we all hang in there and work hard, and there's going to be some great victories that are going to be won. So I don't even know how many points I have, but I do have them numbered. I have 7. That's like my favorite number. So cool. The first point is, that's how I am. I don't even know how many points I have, but I got the points on here for y'all. Number 1, let's take the path of more resistance. Here's some examples when it comes to Arbonne, because I don't just want to throw things out there and not have it relate to Arbonne. I know that on here we have everything from brand new consultants to seasoned consultants, and I want to share some nitty gritty details. So the human nature is to take the path of least resistance in every situation. I do it. I fight it. I fight it every day. The path of least resistance, when I wake up in the morning, is to stay in sweatpants and PJs all day. And I do many times, and maybe not even put a bra on for a while. I mean, I don't care. But anyway, with Arbonne and with anything that you want to get successful in life, you got to take the path of more resistance. So here's some examples. Okay. It's kind of good versus great. So I'm not saying some of these things are bad, but a voice memo or a phone call versus a text. Text isn't bad, but which is the path of more resistance, and why don't we take it? We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Doing the 80-20 rule as opposed to the 20-80 rule. And if you're brand new or you're on here and you don't know what that is, that's something I've learned from Carlita along the way. Is early on in my business is you should spend 80% of the time on your personal and 20% on your team. So sometimes a path of least resistance is we wind up, how can I motivate my team? What can I do to work with them? Waiting for them. But we should flip that and do the path of harder resistance. Asking people you're uncomfortable with instead of people you're comfortable with, or people you've already shared Arbonne with. Again, it's not bad to go back, but if that's all you're doing. Asking who's next instead of saying, who can I convince or motivate to work? Thinking about Arbonne versus doing the work. Thinking about it and getting set up doesn't pay. So stop spending dollar time on penny tasks. Nothing is easy. At the end of the day, I want something that I earned, not something that's given to me. Will it be easy? No. Will it be worth it? Yes. We don't want easy. That's not what we want. So don't expect it to be easy. And that kind of takes the load off a little bit. Kind of you want it to be hard, because then it's more worth it. That's what we want to talk about. That's kind of leveling up in our thinking. Embracing the hard things, because we don't know the future, and you don't know what the future holds that you're going to need, that your team's going to need, that you can show them that you went through. The path of hardest resistance is being the hardest worker in your entire organization. Something we all have to work on a regular basis. So number 2, mental toughness. So this is some of the inside work here. Last one was kind of outside work. This is inside work. So you have to take the punches, you guys. You have to go into the ring and know, listen, I'm going to get punched in the gut. Now I'm making it harder than it is, but you've got to fight like that for your whys. You got to say, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to get punched in the face. And then you know what? I'm going to get punched in the gut, squirt some water on my face and put me back in, coach. I'm ready to take more, because I know that that's leading me towards my goal. That's having mental toughness, getting back in and fighting, staying in the rink. You don't want to just sit with the knowledge. You have a choice. You can go in the rink and fight, or you can stay comfortable and sit with the knowledge that you gave up on yourself forever. I would rather fight the fight, because it's so rewarding when you lay your head down on the pillow at night and you worked hard. You're really not going against anyone else. When you go in that ring, I think it's 10 rounds, 12 rounds, I guess, for boxing. I don't know, Carlita, you probably know, but 12 rounds, maybe. You're going against yourself in there. You're fighting yourself in this business. And again, I'm making it harder than it is, but I want to prepare you, because most of you already know this if you've had day one in Arbonne, because I know for me, my day one was hard. Because I reached out to some people that rejected me. I had some no's and things like that. And I know that everybody on this call has too. One of the things that helps with mental toughness, who are you hanging around? I always, and you probably heard me say this before, but I always think about my track and field days. I had the best coach ever, Mr. Morton. He used to tell us to be blue chippers. And I did a whole training on that one time, but I just want to share this one thing. He used to always talk to us about who we hung around at practice and at track meets. Our track team, not because of me, but our track team won every single dual meet for all 4 years when I was in high school. We never lost a meet. We had the best, and we had the best leader and the best coach. He would run out there with us. He was involved in everything. And he cared about us. But when you're running if your running partners are complaining, I kid you not, the second they have a side stitch, you feel like, man, I got a side stitch too. Or, man, it's hot, I can't breathe. All of a sudden, you feel the same way. And when you hang around complainers and gossipers and negative people and all that, your mind is being fed that too. And so, think about who you're hanging around and also what you're watching. I have to catch myself nowadays. I think we all do. What are we reading and looking at, and what are we getting hung up on? So another thing too, in this mental toughness, is our mind will always find an excuse for ourselves. So hear me right on this. You're having some type of struggle in Arbonne. Okay, maybe you had an amazing April and May, and then all of a sudden you feel like you're not hitting those numbers. Or maybe you're brand new and you just got a yes, but then you got 3 no's in a row. Maybe you just did 2 virtuals in a row, and for some reason you had 0 sales. We can't let 1 or 2 obstacles stop us. That's just part of the business. But it's so easy for our minds to find an excuse for us not to pick up the phone again, or even to not do the work when we wake up in the morning, and to put things off because all of a sudden we're like, you know what, I meant to do that, but it's only 3 o'clock. I have a few more hours to do it. And gosh, I got to get dinner going, and I got to go check the mail, and I got this and that to do. It's really easy. Our mind will trick us. And I'm going to talk about a way to get around that in a little bit. But the most dangerous no is the one you tell yourself. That's the most dangerous no. Telling yourself no. In my opinion, it's the most dangerous no. So you're going to have obstacles. We have tools to help us deal with those obstacles. And, gosh, I wish I had more time to tell you y'all stories, but I'm going to tell you this one story for those of you that are new. Listen, first off, in Arbonne, don't be attached to any outcomes. What I want you to be attached to is giving it your all and keeping your mind tough and never quitting. What you know has to take over what you feel. What you know is possible, what you know can happen in this business has got to take over how you feel in the moment. Way back when, 15 years ago, whenever I started Arbonne, I can remember when I was launching my business. It was sometime in my first month or 2. I was so excited. I'll spare you the details because this could be like an hour-long story, but I lived in Michigan at the time, and I was going to be driving to Kentucky to launch this girl for her business. And I had forgotten this story, and I just thought about it again today, but I had to go all the way to Kentucky. I think it was around 8 hours. Now, listen, I never took a road trip like that in my life by myself. I don't think I ever booked a hotel room by myself. I never did things like that. I just didn't. I was a young school teacher. I was from northern Michigan, where we were lived in farmland. So anyway, I remember doing that and being brave and driving down there. And she had a party on a Friday and 2 on Saturday, and I think 1 on Sunday or something like that. And I get down there, and Friday didn't happen, but it was okay because I knew there was more coming up. And then same thing Saturday morning, no one showed up, and I was kind of getting a little discouraged. I'm like, what's going on here, And then the girl says to me, her name was Sabrina, I'll never forget it. She said, don't worry, the next party's for sure gonna happen. You do not have to worry about this. The lady's on home arrest and has a tether. And I just remember, and even that party ended up canceling. We didn't do anything. I went home. I remember crying on the way home, thinking, what did I get myself into? So listen, if I can make it, you can too. So, we've got to learn how to stop feeding our feelings of fear, and don't indulge in negativity. It's really easy to do right now, but you don't want to do that. So let's move on to point number 3. I hope you guys can still see me, because I just see a blank thing on there. But I'm gonna keep on talking. Number 3, we have to get out of our own way. Oh, hi, I see. Okay, I see you now. We have to get out of our own way and identify our roadblocks. So everybody's different. What's gonna get you stopped up isn't gonna get me stopped up. I swear the devil knows what gets each of us stopped up. As I get older, I have learned that, and I know it to be true. And so once you realize, hey, that's one of my things, and you combat it up front, you can find ways this is going to sound weird, but I'm just teaching you what I do. Okay. So take it or leave it. But I know my things. And so I also have a plan when those things come up. Does that make sense? So I'm going to give you some examples, but if I lately, okay, this whole situation we're in, I have found that if I plan to sort of have days where I don't really do anything, that's fine. But if I know I've got some junk I got to get done, okay? If I stay personally, this is my thing, but if I just stay in my pajamas all day, like I was describing earlier, for some weird reason, I get way less done. So when I wake up, when I go to bed at night, if I know I have a big day that I have to get my stuff done because I didn't do it yesterday or whatever. I know I've got some to-dos. I've got some people to call, some things to do, some income producing activity, whatever it is. I tell myself when I get up in the morning, I am going to get dressed and take a shower first thing. Maybe I should start laying my clothes out. I don't know. Figure out what stops you. Maybe it's watching negative news. Maybe it's a certain person that eats up your time and you talk to on the phone all day. I don't know what it is, but get out of your own way. Because here is the biggest one. Okay. And this is a news flash. The biggest thing that stops us up is not doing it. Not doing it. Not doing it. That's it. What is it? The things that help grow your business. We don't do those things. So what happens is, and I had a revelation today. I do not believe that there's such a thing as procrastination in Arbonne. Now hear me right. There's no such thing. There's missed opportunities. That's what there is. Because I figured it out and I finally figured out a way to figure it out in my brain. So let's say you want to get in front of 40 people a month, 40 to 50 people a month. After 12 months, after a year, you will have gotten in front of anywhere from about 480 to 600 people. Okay. If you procrastinate and you put off every month and then suddenly December comes around and you're like, man, I want to do the work now. You didn't procrastinate. You missed out on 430 opportunities because now you're starting from square one. Hopefully that made sense because it made sense in my brain. Whatever I was thinking about, I was like, whoa. Listen, another thing that stops us up is trying to be perfect. I said this on the one training I did before, but I'm going to say it again because I like it. Messy success is better than perfect mediocrity. Trying to be perfect makes you not do it. Fear of failure. That's a big one. It's getting hot. Sorry. Fear of failure. That's another one. Mistakes are good, y'all. Mistakes are so good. It helps you learn what works and what doesn't work. Here's what fear of failure looks like. It looks like sort of like gearing up to gear up. So what it looks like, imagine a rock climber and they have everything they need. They are wearing the rock climbing shoes that are like extremely tight fitting. They have the harness. They've got the really nice rope. They have people on belay. They have backup people on belay. They have the chalk bag filled with chalk. They have the helmet. They have everything they need. They're gearing up to gear up, but they won't take that step. They won't take that step off that mountain, even though it's safe and they have all the tools and all the help and everything they need and everything's laid out and it's just top roping. They won't do it. It's not even really that risky because it's top roping. So gearing up to gear up is being sort of an information gatherer. I need the exact verbiage. Well, what did you say in this situation? And what about, and I'm giving you examples of what I see happen and what I've personally done too. So the thing where you're like, okay, I'm going to do this, but I have to prepare everything first. So what do I say in this one situation? What's the verbiage? Okay, but if they say this, then what do I say? And then this and that. Before you know it, somebody else has made 15, 20 phone calls. So don't try to be perfect. Don't worry about failing and just do it. And by the way, speaking about rock climbing, the rock bottom teaches you a lot more than mountaintops. I'll tell you that too right now. And, basically the fear of failure is just not doing it. Again, it's not taking action. Can you imagine somebody in the playoffs for basketball saying, nobody takes any shots. Everybody just dribbles. They don't even shoot. They don't even dribble either because they're afraid they might double dribble or they might miss the shot. I mean, that's ludicrous that anybody would do that. But sometimes we do that in business. For some reason, we're not taking shots on ourselves because we're so afraid. And the only thing I can tell you that helps me for that is I play it out in my head. What if they do say no? What's that going to look like and feel like? Okay, cool. I can get over that and ask somebody else. You've got to play those games with yourself, or it's not really a game. You almost have to go through that and realize it's not going to hurt that bad. The rejection isn't that bad, and I can ask somebody else. So, and also blaming is another thing. And that's where you have to be mentally tough, because even if you have things you can blame it on, the blames don't pay the bills, right? I mean, it's going to rob you of your growth. So own it. Being a victim, making excuses, those things are easy. Blaming is easy. And remember what we said about easy. We don't want easy. Going back to that. Number 4 is okay, 2 things. This is the outside work. 2 things that build this business is consistency and hard work. You're going to see the benefit and it will pay off. It takes time, and you have to put up with things along the way. You're going to have to truly be committed to the ups and downs. And listen, guys, when I say downs, did you hear how much joy I had in sharing my Kentucky story? Do you realize I've been able to share that story for 14 years? I think I got my monies out of that story. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes we talk about Arbonne, and it's fun to have these like sort of battle stories. You get what I'm saying? Like it's fun to be able to tell those things later. So you just have to be able to push through. And believe me, I know many of you on this call. I'm not sure if Heidi's on or not, but I mean, there's so many hilarious stories that at the time it was a down. It would be a big down, at least for me. I know I've got some. I know Heidi has some. I know all of you leaders, amazing leaders on here have some stories like that. So anyway, going back to consistency and hard work, this is what I want to ask you. Is your calendar, and I'm asking myself this too, all this training is for me too, so I hope I'm not being too hard or anything, but I want to be honest and help. Is your calendar aligned with your goals and the desires of your heart? Because if your calendar is not aligned with it, the two don't match up. So in the spring, right before, I guess it was probably around February, I had to go in and get major dental work done. I mean, it felt major. I don't know. They stuck something in my mouth. I thought it was like, apparently I'm claustrophobic. I don't know, but it was just crazy. And I was getting, I guess they were changing my fillings out. Anyway, long story short, I left there and my teeth are still not 100% aligned. It has taken this long where I felt like my bite has been off, and when you're not aligned, things just aren't right. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't match up. It's uncomfortable. And in Arbonne, your calendar and your personal activity of whatever it is you're doing, your one-on-ones, your samples you're mailing out, your virtuals, your Zooms, your lives, whatever it is you're doing, you have to have your calendar packed with new conversations with people, so you can get in front of those 40 to 50 people who get to have purposeful, back and forth, meaningful conversations about Arbonne. So you want to align your calendar up with your heart and what you want to get in your dreams out of this business. And another thing I want to share, but I have so many points, man, is now I'm like eliminating stuff, but basically the thing I want to share with you guys is don't back out before the finish line. We've all heard so many stories, so I'm going to leave my story out on that, but we all have heard so many stories of people that backed out right before the finish line and could have had so much. And so number 5, work on what you can control. Work on what you can control, because and I know it's easier to say than to do. Okay, I had this example I want to share, but I'm gonna take a little sip because I'm thirsty. Okay, we sometimes worry about things, right now. There's a lot of things we're worrying about, and it makes sense. It's understandable. We worry though about sometimes things that we can't control. We worry about the what ifs, which, by the way, the what ifs will take care of themselves if you do what I said in the last point of staying consistent and working hard. Oh, what if they don't like me? What if this or this? What if they say no? What if whatever? So I want you to imagine this cup here, okay? I want to ask you, if we were doing live right now, or maybe you could put in the comments, how heavy do you think this is? It's half full, with some detox tea, and I mixed it with the old peppermint tea from, anyway, how heavy do you think this is? You can guess for a second. Okay. It's irrelevant how heavy it is. And this is what I want to show you, this little teaching example. Okay. This is how I'm thinking of it. It depends on how long you hold it for. So sometimes it seems like our thing we're worrying about is no big deal and we can handle it, right? And we're worrying about maybe what's going to happen. What if somebody rejects me? What if somebody says no? What if, and you worry about it, not just for days, for weeks, and for sometimes years, sometimes for so long. Can you imagine if I had to hold this cup? I don't know if you can still see it, but if I had to hold this cup in the air for even 10 minutes, my arm would start getting tired. After a week or a year, I mean, my arm would, after a little while, it'd be really numb. We think those little things don't matter. And sometimes people go through really heavy things, but even little things that add up, you guys, that's really harmful to our goals, our vision, our passion, our heart, our commitment, waking up in the morning, doing things. We start comparing ourselves to others, which why? I don't know. I wish I could train all on that. I mean, people post their best angles and their best moments. And we're comparing ourselves to that. I mean, so all of those things, they add up and it gets really heavy, you guys. And the longer you hold it, the heavier it is. And you can't control those things. You can't control if people will like you. You can't control if they're going to think you're nuts for doing this amazing business. But believe me, later when you're beeping your horn, when you drive by your house and you put them on your toot toot list and you drive by in your Benz, you're not going to worry about that anymore. But when people talk about you, maybe behind your back or don't like you, that or post or whatever, that tells you more about them than it does about yourself. You catch what I'm saying? So put that down. One of the things I think about, and I just have to share this because this verse has helped me so much in these past few years even, but just in life in general. In Psalm 119, 105, thy word is a light into my path and thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light into my path. I want you to think about that for a minute because here's why it helped me. Have you ever thought about that verse? And have you ever thought about being in a deep, dark woods? Have you ever thought, and I keep this on my desk to remind myself, I got myself it, because when you have your path lit with a lamp, you can see one step ahead of you. You can't see the entire woods. You can't see what's in the thick woods or what's way down. You get to see one step at a time. One step, and that's it. And that's enough because we can't control everything. We can't. All we can do is say, what can I do today? What can I do today? Because I'll tell you, Jesus is my rock, and that's what for me, that those kind of things. And you got to figure out what helps me be strong through good times and bad, because again, Arbonne is ups and downs, and you just have to keep being consistent with the work. It's almost like investing. And I think I might've given this example on the other training, so I won't give it again, but that example. Number 6 is be reliable. I'm going to buzz through this one so I could get to number 7, but if you're going to say something, do it. You're going to say you're going to do something, do it with your hostesses, with your team, with your clients. And I want to tell you why, not just for leadership stuff. Okay. Yes, things can slip through the cracks if you don't follow up, not just for that, but here's something I don't know if you've ever thought about before. But I thought about it as I was writing this training. Every time that you keep your word and you follow through on something, those are easy yeses in your brain, in your heart. That builds your confidence because you get to check something off the list that you accomplished and you did. So when you do that, that builds you up and gives you more confidence and more hope. And what hope do you have if you can't count on yourself? Number 7, don't listen to what the world tells you that you want or need. You decide. You decide why you're doing Arbonne, because your purpose, that's going to keep you going. Your why is going to keep you going. And then you can put your blinders on and you can just keep your eye on the goal. Don't chase after someone else's prize just because media and social media, everybody else tells you that's the prize. And I get it. Sometimes we think something looks good and we try it out and it's not, but you have to know your purpose. And maybe you're figuring it out on the way, and that's okay if you are. But you have to know where your path is leading, and you have to have a burning desire, a burning drive to get there so that you don't get distracted. You know, that way you can ask yourself, is what I'm doing right now taking me closer to where I want to go? Only you know, because only you know your goals and your purpose and things like that. I can tell you my goal is to serve, love, and give. Those are my purposes: to serve, love, and give. And you know, but you're going to have your Arbonne goals as well, and you're going to have your inner why as well. And so you don't want to look at others. That's going to take you off. I mean, it's okay to say, hey, I like some of those things that she's doing. I want to do that. You know, that's fine. But when you're comparing yourself, I heard a great Bible sermon one time on this. When you're either looking down on somebody, you're judging them if you're comparing and being like, and if you're looking up and being like, and you're comparing, I could never do that. Both are bad. So instead, I can't think of the word right now, but it's okay to think, gosh, I would love, you know, to do some of those things. I really like what I see in her. But either way, you also don't want to stare at your obstacles that are on your way. Stay on your course. I don't care if you need to jump around the obstacles, swerve around them, or get go gadget wheels. We have the tools, and you just have to keep moving forward. So I want to close with this story, because it was just such an aha moment this past year. The kids and I were looking for land for a really long time. I mean, it's, you know, it seemed like a long time to us, but I knew exactly what I wanted it to look like in my mind. And I wanted, you know, this mountain view with these rolling hills and, you know, about 10 acres and grass and, you know, all of that. Okay. And my realtor called me up, and she said, and this was back a while ago, and she said, there's land that went up for sale today. I think you need to go check it out. So me and the kids got in the car, and she said, there's no sign up yet because it just went up, and she described where it was at. And y'all, I mean, we pulled up in the car and I was about in tears. I loved it so much. I looked over. It was exactly like I just described to you. Mountain backdrop, grass. My gosh, beautiful. Okay, 10 acres. All you could see was farmland. Those giant bales of hay all rolled up. I called her up and go, let's make an offer. Like, this is awesome. Are you kidding me? And I said, so this is it. And I said, on the corner here of Burt Atkins and South Street, she said, oh gosh, no, it's the land across the street. I was so disappointed. I didn't want her to know or hear it in my voice. I hung up the phone. And the land across the street, y'all, was an ugly, like when I say ugly, full of briars, just overgrown, wild, dead pine trees. And it was across the street. I mean, it didn't have the mountain in the back. It didn't have it. And I was like, whatever. I went home and I got my boots, rubber boots, and walked out there. We saw a snake. I mean, it was just, I was so disappointed. Got out it was 13 acres, got out to the back of the land, and I turned around and looked, and I could not believe it. This view was 100 times better than the view that I saw. And it was because the elevation, I don't know much about all this, but it was like 6 to 8 feet higher. The land is higher than the other lower land. And you could see almost like, you know, half of the sky mountains. And I started bawling. I couldn't believe that what I thought. And of course we bought it and everything like that, and had it bush hogged, and the view's crazy. What I thought that I wanted for myself, the rejection that I felt, the disappointment of something not turning out, you guys, God knew better. There was something better for me. And he was like, girl, don't get upset. There's something better for you around the corner. And sometimes we think, gosh, why didn't this work out? Or why didn't that work out? And I get emotional when I share this because it's just so awesome when you hang on to this dream you have with Arbonne. No matter what people tell you, no matter what gets in your way, you made a decision to to be your best and to push through. You have, we never have an idea of how beautiful it is when we really put our mind to it and we really stick through something. Sometimes we go through disappointments, but what we can do today, you guys, is celebrate the positives today. Don't get trapped in the negatives. um and just understand that mistakes are only mistakes if you decide it's a mistake, because I look at it as valuable wisdom. Ask yourself, what am I building with my business? What is my purpose? Because Arbonne is the vehicle for that purpose for you. Ask yourself, what legacy do I want to leave? And go find your region. Push yourself. Go find your region, find your nation, and don't let anyone or anything, and not even yourself, stand between you and your goal. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for the honor of getting to train with you tonight. I wish I could see all your faces, but I'm afraid to touch the screen and ruin it. But thank you, Carlita. I love you. I adore you. I look up to you. And I thank you for everything. Bye, guys.
Thank you for doing this, Val. It was amazing. The comments, I mean, I had a hard time listening to you just because of watching all the amazing comments. And I'll try to share these with you so that you can see how blown away people are and how much they needed to hear this message and these stories. And you guys, I just want to say this because I feel it myself. I mean, some people probably know that we've gone through some really hard times as a family, and everybody has. I mean, as hard as our time is, I've said, you know what I love about this is, and because you always have to find something good, is that it's helped me have more compassion for people in this day and time. Because it's like that cup you're saying, like we were doing better when it first happened. Initially, everybody was fear shocked, but then everybody's like, okay, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. And we're holding that cup and we're holding that cup. But I feel like now that cup's starting to feel so heavy, not just for me, but for so many people today. And that's what you need to recognize, that if you feel that, that's what it is. It's that stuff that we can't control. But what we can do is look at what we can control. Just like you said so many times and so many points. I mean, I have notes and notes and notes. But like, even like the election, you guys, people are worrying about the election. No matter what you believe or what you're for, everybody has their beliefs and their worries and their concerns. And it's so like just overwhelming right now. I mean, the TV, you can't turn on. We've been in an ice storm. You can't even turn on and figure out what the weather's going to do without being bombarded by all of this stuff, you guys. And I told my husband, I was like, I will be so glad when this is over because I'm just so sick of it. And hearing this person talk about that person and all the things that we just talked about not doing, it's what everybody is doing. And you have to like be in control of what you can control if you don't want that to affect you in a negative way. And recognize and tell your brain, when you talk about what people are talking about, I was like, it's our own head that we are talking about. I have listened to so many like messages and sermons and podcasts. I mean, I'm constantly, if I'm not doing something, I'm on something else, because that's what I'm having to feed my head to control my thoughts. I mean, and because that cup is feeling heavy right now. And that's what we have to recognize, you guys. And you have to be, this is where you separate yourself from the leaders and the ones that will get, lost in all of this hard. You have to separate yourself and do what you can do. You can still go out there and ask people to take a look at what you have to offer them that is good for their life, and not let their response either way affect you going out and asking the next person and the next person. Even if they're a yes, you keep asking another person and another person. And when you do that, you guys, especially when you don't feel like it, because that was me this week. I even shared it on our power hour yesterday, I think, that I didn't feel like doing anything this week. I felt the heavy, but I did it. And when I did it, because my life verse, Val, is Galatians 6:9. Do not grow weary in doing good, for at the right time you will reap a harvest. And the loss that we suffered was dear to us. And the reason that it was so dear to us is that he lived till he died. And he kept doing good until the day he died. And that is what made me feel better that day, was getting up and doing good where I could control it. And that, you guys, is what we all have to do to be able to set that cup down that feels heavy and go do what it is you can do, just like she shared with us tonight. And Val, honey, I love you. I miss you.
I
I
love
love
you too.
to see you. And thank you so much for just being with us and being the light that you always are, that just makes
Oh,
everybody feel so good about themselves. So thank
thank
you
you.
guys.
I
I hope
love you.
you have a wonderful month end close. And don't worry about anything. It's all going to be okay. Just keep doing what you can do.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you.